Okay, we're going to try this out for size, even though I have a crazy storm going on at my house right now, but we're going to try it anyways. So I did this training for someone the other day, and it went pretty well. So I wanted to kind of redo it and put it on my page, because every single part of this information that I'm going to share with you guys is something that I personally have dealt with in my life. And I think in life, when you go through things, it brings you so much wisdom. Like, it literally brings you so much wisdom in certain areas because you've walked through those seasons before. So when I wrote this training, I wasn't really thinking about it like that. I was just, when I write stuff or even when I speak, sometimes I feel like I just spill everything out on a piece of paper. And then that's what I did with this. But then when I did the first training, I realized how much I had walked through and how it was almost like I was putting my story on a piece of paper because I had learned so much through that process. So without further ado, 5 top tips for how to be successful in business and in life. Okay, so this really goes like across the board for a whole lot of people, because it can be about business, but it also can be about life. It can be about both. So number 1, so there's 5 tips. We're going to go old school church style because I have really bad ADD. And if I don't write a legit outline, I will rabbit trail. So number 1, own where you are. A lot of people in life don't want to say where they're at, because they're either afraid that if they say it out loud, somebody might hear and they might be embarrassed. Maybe you're embarrassed. Maybe like you thought you were going to be further along. But the first step in the process to being successful is looking around you and figuring out where you are right then. And also owning that place. Being like, this is where I'm at. I mean, shoot, I don't really know how I got here, but I'm here. This is where I am in life right now today. Mentally, emotionally, physically, like this is where I am right now. Because if you can't stop long enough to figure out where you are, you're never going to get to the next section because you're stuck right there because you won't own that place. Shoot, if you're not okay, say you're not okay. Own where you're at. Assess your surroundings in your business. Are you happy with where you are in your business? Own where that place is in your life. Are you happy where you're at in your life? If you're not, own it. If you are, own that. But you got to own where you are to begin with. If you're not in a good place, you got to talk to somebody. I am the queen of not talking to people when I'm not in a good place. You know what I do? I shut down. I run away. I've always been that way. I don't talk about it. I internalize everything and wind up exploding. And I've learned a lot over the past couple years that it's so important. You got to get it out, because you know what happens when you don't get it out? It festers. And then you get stuck and you don't do anything. So you've got to be vulnerable. You got to talk to somebody, even when you don't want to. Own your scars and your hardships. When I looked at the season I was in, when I started this new journey 2 years ago, I had been through a lot. And over the past 2 years, I've been through things that I don't even like to talk about sometimes because it's so hard. I've been in a really bad place a lot of times in the past 2 years, places that I'm not proud of. I'm not proud of, but you know what? When life gives you something like that and you realize that you made a mistake, if you can learn something from that mistake, if you can take that scar that you got and realize that you learned something from that, you will not. You'll move on from it. You'll move on from it. You know why? Because you owned what happened in that situation. You've got to own where you are so you can move on. But you've got to own that scar. Are you where you want to be in business and life? Like, did you think that you would be further? We can't go back or change the past, but we have the ability to stuck in their childhood, stuck in a bad marriage, stuck in all these places, and they don't move from there. I have friends and people that I know that things happened to them when they were children. And they still carry those things with them every day in their job, in their relationships. We can't go back and change what happened to us. But you know what we can change? And you know what we have control of? We control us. We control what we choose to do with that hurt. There's a lot of hurt people in this world that hurt other people. You've got to get to a place in your life where you realize that the people that have hurt you, it has nothing to do with you and everything to do with them. Nothing to do with you. It had nothing to do with you. It was them. What do you want to change? Your income? Where you live? Your job? Your circle? Do you need to forgive somebody? Do you know how much forgiveness holds us back when you don't forgive somebody? Or maybe you're the one who needs to ask for forgiveness. Everybody makes mistakes. If you need to ask forgiveness from somebody, then do it. Man up, woman up, and ask for forgiveness. We all make mistakes. We're human. Somebody who I love very much earlier told me, we are not all perfect. None of us are perfect. The only person who's perfect was Jesus, and that's it. We're not perfect. We make mistakes. You're human. You can make a mistake, but ask for forgiveness. Is it holding you back from your business? Do you need to forgive somebody? Is that why you're being held back in your business and in your life? Why are you giving them control? Okay, how can you change in your business? Let's get back on track here. Are you organized? The way I changed my business is I chose to have a simple business. This business can be simple, and life can be simple. But you know what we do as humans? We complicate all of it. So number one, own where you are. Where are you? Say where you are and own it. Okay? In life and in business. Let's talk for 30 seconds about self-care. Do you take care of yourself? And no, I don't mean, do you go to the mall? Do you get your nails done? Do you take care of yourself? Like your mental health? Like, are you okay? Number two, what do you do for yourself? And everybody's always like, I don't have the money to take care of myself. Taking care of myself sometimes is taking a chair from one side of the room and moving it to the other so I can get my feng shui right, if you know what I mean. Self-care doesn't have to be expensive. It can be anything that you do that's good for your soul. I love to cook. I go in my kitchen. I put my music on with my glass of wine and I start cooking. And you know why? It's because that's what my dad, when I was little, I would stand there next to my dad was a chef. I'd stand there next to him and he put the music on and we would cook. So for me, that self-care, that recenters me. It brings me focus. Figure out what that is for you. What do you want? I'm going to get deep on this one. What do you want? Not what your friend wants for you. Not what your husband wants for you. Not what your mom always wanted for you. What do you want? What do you want out of life? We're so afraid to say what we want because we're afraid we're going to disappoint people. We're afraid if we say what we want and we don't follow through with it, that we're going to disappoint people. But guess what? If you never try, you're never going to get there. You're never going to get there. You're going to be watching a video that I did today, a year from now, and you're going to say, I should have listened to that girl, that crazy girl with that crazy hat on and that weird accent. I should have listened to her. But a year has gone by and I've done nothing. I've done nothing. You know why? Because you gave them control. You let something get in your way. Let go of a season to walk into the next. Whew, that gives me a lump in my throat. Let go of that season so you can walk to the next one. If you don't let go of that season, you'll stay in that season forever. Sounds sad, doesn't it? Number 3, and we're going to talk about this at the end, but if you lack any of these 5 things, you won't be successful. I promise you right now, you won't. You've got to have the 5. Number 1, you got to own where you're at. Number 2, what do you want out of life? Say it out loud. Put that itch somewhere. Number 3, you got to make a timeline. Make you a timeline. I have extremely bad ADD. So does my brother. So does my mom. For me, I know I have to have a timeline in order to do things. If I don't have a timeline, I'm like this. I spin. Your timeline should be filled with goals and numbers and the in-between, which we're going to talk about. Number 1, goals. I'm going to tell y'all mine right now. Here we go. This year, I want to buy land because I want to build my dream house this year. But I gave my timeline. I have to save a certain amount by April in order to get that land. That's my timeline. That's my goal right now. So then you got to think about, what do I need to get to that goal? I think I'm going to try to save like 15 grand. How much PRV do I need every month? How much money do I need to make? You got to come up with little things to get to your dream. Little goals along the way to get to that dream. My dream is to buy land, to build my house. And then the in-between, okay? Because you got to have a goal. You got to have numbers in that timeline. You got to have a timeline there, time frames, numbers, the in-between. Because you know what? Life happens. Y'all get ready for the TED Talk on this one. Life happens. You know what happens? I've been going through something kind of major over the past couple of weeks in my life. And you know what happened? It happened to me. Life happened. And you know what happened because of that? I got in my feels. I haven't been working well. I got off my timeline for a second because I wasn't okay. And it took me a lot to come out and say I wasn't okay because I'm a very proud person. But I wasn't okay. But you know what helped me? I knew how to center myself again. If you can figure out how, when life throws you through a freaking wall, because that's what happens, doesn't it? It feels like you've gotten thrown through a wall. It's just like, I'm done. If you can figure out how to get up off the ground every single time to reset yourself, to get back on that timeline, you're going to be successful. You know why? Because you didn't give up. How do you get back up there? How do you get back to that timeline? How do you get that adrenaline back, that motivation? What do you do? We all have something. We all have something. Number 4, work your ass off. Whatever it takes. When things get bad, you recenter yourself and you get up and you move. Even when you're tired, even when you're done, even when people don't understand why you're working so hard, what do? You get up and move. You know why? Because you've got that dream. What do you want? It goes back to the dream. What do you want? When you know what you want, you'll get up and you'll move no matter what life throws at you. And you work your ass off. I don't really talk about myself a whole lot, but over the past 2 years, I've gone through a divorce. I've got 2 boys who I had to raise and I had to fix and who I had to mold. Thank God for Jesus. I also am a nurse, and COVID happened. COVID threw us through a loop. It was bad. COVID happened. I sprained my back and my hip. Along the journey, I was assaulted by a man. That also happened during this journey. And you know what? I had to remember what I was fighting for, and that was my kids. Because every single time life knocked me down, I had to recenter myself. And you know what? I got up and I moved. And I grew from having a group of 600 to a group of 1,500. And I grew from making $3,000 a month to making 15 grand a month. And you know why? Because I worked my ass off and I kept moving. Number 4.5, give yourself grace. Give yourself grace because things happen in life and we don't understand them and they're hard. And you know what? Sometimes you need a minute to just do all the things and to not think about it for 2 seconds. That's okay. Take your minute. Give yourself some grace in those moments. Number 5, you want to start again. Because this is a cycle. Once I get my land and I build my dream house, I'm going to sit there and I'm going to assess my life and I'm going to say to myself, God, number 1, God, you're good. You're good, and I'm thankful. And I'm thankful that every time you knocked me on my ass, I'm thankful that I stood there and I said, God, I need you. I need you to help me recenter myself. And then after I assess everything that's happened in my life, I'm going to start over again. I'm going to come up with a new dream. Because if you don't keep coming up with a new dream, you're not going to move. And you're not going to get to number 2. What do you want? So that's about it on those 5 points. I'm going to say a couple other things real quick because I had this on the other training. What I wish I knew in life 2 years ago that I know now because of everything that I've been through. Number 1, simplicity in life and in business. Simplicity is the only way to go. Do what works for you. not what works for someone else. You know why? Because you're you. You're not them. What works for them might not work for you. Give yourself grace. Give yourself grace in every single season of life. Give yourself grace every single day. Accept every season that you're in, even when it's hard, even when it hurts, even when you're happy, even when it doesn't make sense. You got to accept that season, because every season in life is a season that we can learn from. Stay close to ones that feel like sunshine, legit sunshine, like warm and fuzzy and happy and whole and good. Stay close to them. And the last one is communicate until it is out of your hands. One thing I've learned more than anything else over the past 2 years is that when you got to say something, you got to say it. Because you never know when it's going to be your last moment, when God's going to take you. And there's so many things in this life that we don't say out loud. If somebody hurts your feelings, you know what you do? You just you get mad, you get angry, you get even sometimes. But what if you just talked to them and told them how you felt? We go through divorce when maybe we could have done better at communicating. We have a friend that we had for a long time, and a season changed and you don't have that friend anymore. What if you were able to say the things that you wanted to say then because you're strong enough to say them? Communicate until it's out of your hands, because when you walk away from a situation and you've communicated everything that you were supposed to say, you leaving clean and leaving at peace. You're at peace with yourself when you say what needs to be said out of respect. So that's all I got to say. Life is not easy. It's hard, y'all. It's hard, and you're going to go through seasons, and you're going to go through life, and you're going to understand, and you're not going to understand, and it's a freaking roller coaster. But you know what? It is what it is. It's life.